And she gathered up these Bible tapes, year and a half's worth. They were everywhere, on the fridge, under the sink. You ladies can imagine, she's been cleaning around them for a year and a half, collecting dust, everything. She gathers them all up, and she brings them into the living room, and she throws them on the floor before she leaves, and she says, you either listen to these things or I'm throwing them out. And that little voice, we all have a little quiet voice inside of us. And by the way, I would like to mention, if I was the devil and I wanted to wipe God out of the minds of people, of his creation, I would create ambient light to eliminate the awesomeness of the stars. When my son was in Iraq, his first email home was, I can't believe all the stars. This is amazing. Dad, I'm telling you, it's amazing. I'd eliminate the stars, so when you looked up into heavens, you saw 2 or 3, and you go, what's so amazing about that? And then I'd create the iPod, and I'm not saying the iPod is the devil's creation. All I'm saying is I just create noise that fits inside your head so that God's voice, which is quiet and still, can't be heard. Because one day I'm walking by that pile of tapes, and that little voice says, open one up, and I walk back, and another voice says, there's nothing in there for you, and I start to walk away, and this struggle goes on. And I'd like to ask somebody, where does this come from? Where does this struggle come from? I had never had a problem going to a music store, buying a Bruce Springsteen tape, and pulling it out and putting it in my cassette. Now I got a bunch of God's word sitting on the floor, and this struggle comes in. It's nothing but biblical trash. That's when at one point my head screamed at me, it's biblical trash, and I start to walk away, and it's like open one up. So I finally just walk over there like it's on fire, and I rip one open, and I throw them on the floor, and it's Ecclesiastes. I couldn't even pronounce it. What is this? I got to get the Bible out of the junk drawer. The Bible never left the junk drawer, because once you put something in a junk drawer, it never leaves. Until you get a shed. That's a suburban version of a junk drawer. So now I put this tape in from the Ecclesiastes from a pastor in Denton, Texas, that a year and a half, I don't even know when that arrived in the mail, but all I know is it's the first tape. And it starts out meaningless, meaningless. And I went, what's meaningless? What's meaningless? And it went on to talk about Solomon's conclusions and the book of Ecclesiastes. And years later, Christians said to me, the first time I shared this at a church, somebody grabbed me, God used Ecclesiastes? God used the book of Ecclesiastes to lead you to Jesus. I go, I don't understand you. He goes, well, it's a fairly cynical book. I go, well, you didn't know me like God knew me. Trust me. I found Ecclesiastes the most exhilarating thing I'd ever heard. Meaningless, meaningless. It's all meaningless. Everything is meaningless. There's no purpose. Everything. I was like, and then what I got out of that first tape was this. Life without God will have no meaning. Without meaning to your life, there's no purpose to your life. Without purpose to your life, you might as well off yourself. And I'm thinking, wow, that's in the Bible? So I ripped open every envelope looking for more Ecclesiastes tapes. There's got to be another one in here. So, and I put that in there, and this is it. This was another one of Solomon's conclusions. Again, paraphrasing what was in the book by this pastor. But it was, if happiness was an act of human will, we'd all be happy. You ask anybody in this room what you want out of life. I just want to be happy. Well, what is that? How do you define that? If it's the next iPod, the next man, the next woman, the next job, the next car, the next ad infinitum, you're in for a long haul while you're down here on earth. Solomon's conclusions were nothing of this earth will ever give you lasting joy and happiness outside of God. So I'm sitting there listening to this, and I knew this because I did this. I went to the mirror, and I went to affirm yourself. Oh, what a load of garbage that turned out to be. All I wanted to know is I'm listening to this, and something is happening inside of me. And at one point, I wanted to run on the lawn and hold the Bible up. Has anybody read this thing? What a book! I was doing studies in my car, staring with my leg, making notes in my Bible. I almost met Jesus before I met Jesus. I mean, people, I'm running them off the road. They're waving at me one finger at a time. I'm like, I love you too, Wow. I have no idea why there was this moment in my life where God said, this guy has had enough. For the first time, I realized that I wanted an explanation for all these years. I wanted somebody to explain to me God so that I got it, so that I understood it, and it made a difference in my life. But the truth was I needed a revelation from God. Without the revelation, the explanation means nothing. And all of a sudden, everything was starting to change. The way I talked to people, the way I looked at people. I'm talking to my wife on the phone, and I'm going, babe, there's something going on. But she had heard this 1,000 times. It was just another one in a long list of things. And I remember when she came back that summer, and she says, how was your summer? I said, I'm a born-again Christian. She goes, what does that mean? I go, I don't know. I heard the term, but I wasn't there yet. I listened to, a year and a half's worth of tapes in a couple of months. And I'm down in Texas with my buddy, the guy that gave me the tapes, and we had gone to church. I wanted to meet Tommy Nelson, the pastor. and tell him how amazing I thought he was. And when we got back to Phil's house, he looked at me and he said, when I met you, God put it on my heart, you were looking for something. Have you found it? And all I could think to say to him at that time was, if Jesus Christ is not who he claimed to be, then Solomon was right, suicide. I have nowhere else to go. I've exhausted everything. And he said, can you admit you're a sinner? I go, let's not go overboard. When God gets a man downwind from himself, admitting you're a sinner is really, yeah, I fall a little short. I gave my life to Christ, all of it. I said, if comedy is what you want me to do, you take it, you do something with it.